Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to the panel discussion. We're going to get straight into it. My name's Alana. I've already said that. I'm going to introduce our speakers here. I'm going to do the old bio read, which is a classic thing. So let's get into it. First, we have Hayley Mary, and since the release of her debut solo EP, The Piece, The Perfume, in 2020, led by its danceable rock title and radio favourite Like a Woman Should, this artist refused to allow pandemic to deter her from establishing her solo career in the field of anthemic, thought-provoking rock. Please welcome Hayley. Next, we have Joel Quartermain. Joel is a 2-time ARIA and APRA award winner who began honing his craft at just 12 years old, leading to the formation of acclaimed Australian rock band Eskimo Joe. Through the band, Joel worked alongside an array of acclaimed producers where he was able to learn from masters and create a career in production for himself. He has since worked with artists such as Meg Mac, Dan Sultan, Little Birdie and British India. Joel has also jumped on board at the last minute today, so an extra round of applause for Joel.
Thank you.
Next, we have Scott Darlow. Since entering the Australian music scene in 2003, Yorta Yorta descendant Scott Darlow has been a mainstay of Australia's Indigenous and independent music industry. The versatile singer-songwriter, guitarist and didgeridoo player has sold more than 50,000 albums worldwide and has extensively toured Australia, Asia and the USA. Please welcome Scott. And finally, we have Kylie Auldist, who is a soulful voice behind the 2016 worldwide hit This Girl by Kungs v Cooking on 3 Burners. She's also the leading lady of Australian funk and soul stalwarts The Bamboos, and a celebrated solo artist in her own right. She's described by the Music Magazine as Melbourne's high priestess of soul. So please welcome Kylie. We're going to just start with some just normal panel discussion-y questions, and then at the end there'll be 10 minutes for questions. So think of questions. Make sure you've got some questions at the end because it's always great to have your input. So firstly, how long have you all been writing for? I mean, we know since 12 for you, but the rest of the bios didn't.
I'm not going to tell you how long that is.
I bet it's probably actually earlier than 12. That's what you've officially told people. But I'm probably I think I wrote my first song called I Hide My Smile when I was about 4.
Wow. That's
actually
cute.
quite good.
Yeah.
For
I'd
a 4-year-old.
love to be able to hear it.
I'll sing it later.
I have probably a different. I was a brass player right through high school. I wanted to be James Morrison until I turned about 18, and I thought if I sing and play guitar and write songs, I might get more chicks.
Fair enough.
And it didn't work, but I kept on writing songs.
Fair enough. Maybe you were like born in the wrong era for the
I know,
brass
if I'd
getting
been
the
born in the
chicks.
1700s, it would have been really sick. Just joined a marching band and slaying.
Yeah.
Well, I feel a bit like I started as a singer. I suppose I've always been able to sing. I sang since I could talk, and I was always being told to shut up. But I never actually wrote a song. So I'm a collaborator, and I sing. I never actually wrote a song until I joined a band, and probably when I was about 20, I suppose. I don't know, with Curtis Late. And even though I shouldn't be here anymore because I am 53, so I guess that's when I started, and I'm still going now. So. Yeah, just like a lyricist, I guess. And so basically what I found out recently is called a top liner.
Yes.
So, melody and lyrics.
Cool. So we're going to get straight into some writing questions. So where do you draw your inspiration when you're writing? Does it come from your surroundings or particular feelings at the time? Does anyone here write from a third-person point of view at all?
Are we going through the panel? Or does
It's
anyone
whoever wants
wanna
to answer
jump
the
in?
question. I've got some specific questions later. We can start with those if you like. Go for it.
I guess for myself, I've always been a collaborative songwriter, and particularly since moving to Melbourne from Perth after my band to do loads of that, I've learned over time that really generally the song, if you're writing with someone that you've never met until half an hour before, and then suddenly you're sitting eye to eye writing a song, the most important thing is to probably have a conversation about life before you get into it. Like maybe kind of start talking about what music you're into and those kind of things, and then hopefully the artist will open up and sort of you can both start talking about what's happened in your life and common experiences maybe, or just dig deep into that. And usually, after that conversation, which may go for an hour or so, there's a song in that conversation, and, I'm constantly listening for where that song might be, and then zero in on that, and then keep narrowing that down and until almost you've got a title before you start. So I've found after lots of trial and error that that's a nice way to get into writing a song in a collaborative situation.
Great.
Yeah, as I say, I've actually been fortunate enough to write and record a lot with Joel, and so for me, I come at it from a completely different. I got to really feel something to write, So a lot of the songs that I write are sort of angry. As an Aboriginal man, there's a lot of stuff that I have got to say in regards to the history of this country and where we sit, and so a lot of the stuff that I write, but I find I've got to write about stuff that makes my guts burn, or else it just turns out shit. Whereas I look at somebody like Joel, and he's got this amazing gift to be able to, he can just sit down and write about anything, and I think, fuck, I'd like to be able to do that. But so I think it's probably different for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I do some songwriting sometimes, and I find that I'm very informed by place. So recently I lived in Semaphore in Adelaide, which is by the water. Someone recently was like, lots of your songs are very watery. I was like, oh, I think that's just because I lived near the beach, and it just informed that. So yeah, has anyone else got anything to add there, or cool to move on?
Yeah. What was the question again? Sorry.
Where do you draw inspiration from when you're writing?
Yeah, so same.
Yeah.
Things that I'm happy about or things that I'm angry about, but really it has to be from me, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have tried to write songs from the third person, and sometimes it works, but I end up feeling a bit like I'm trying to be Paul Kelly and it's not working.
Right, fair enough. Or Paul McCartney. The Pauls.
Anyone, Paul.
Yeah, the Pauls.
I can definitely do third person and still have it be from me, because I do a bit of role playing.
Right.
And then I'm often trying to create a feeling rather than express something that is my truth. But there is a truth in it. But yeah, I think creating an aesthetic or a nostalgia or something, like a world.
Yeah.
But it's still
from you.
From
at the end
me.
of the
It's
day.
just a different side of me.
Yeah.
My Jezebel's days were a very different side of me to my solo days.
Yeah.
And this is a reaction to that.
Yeah.
All of the stuff I couldn't be in that band, I'm now
Makes sense.
feel good,
Yeah.
upbeat, not moody and
Yeah.
black wearing. Though I am still moody and black wearing sometimes.
Fair enough.
I'm in the middle of a Jezebel's tour. Gotta stay in
Okay, so
character.
you got to channel it.
I think just going back to the Paul's thing as well, writing in third person, I saw this great documentary on Paul Kelly, and it was kind of the whole idea of it is, who is Paul Kelly? And even his immediate family is who is this guy? You know, he's quite a mysterious character, but they all kind of summarise that he is in the songs. The clues are in the songs. Even if he's writing in third person, you are kind of writing your experience. And I find with a collaborative, songwriting thing as well, it's kind of like that as well. There's common human experiences, and you're drawing from your own experiences as well. So, either which way, it's coming from somewhere within. Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough. Well, seeing as we're touching on co-writing and collaborating, can you sort of talk us through what a co-writing session might look like for you? Maybe you as a top liner as well, Kylie. Let the audience know what it's like to be a top liner and how you go in and negotiate that.
Realistically, starting to learn the process, I suppose, with other people. So with Lance Ferguson from the Bamboos, we just had a lot of fun, really funny times. So he would come up with the music, obviously, and then I would just we would think about something. I would think of a melody, and then the melody would suggest a rhythm, and then the rhythm would suggest the word, and then I'd find a word. And then sometimes we'd have, because we've written so many songs, sometimes we'd have a word of the day, some ridiculous word like infidel or, character or something silly. Just go, right, we'd come on something about, and then we'd try to get that into the song somewhere. But we'd just have a laugh and, just try to make sure that, and sometimes it did just become sometimes it wasn't so much about the meaning of the song to start with, because it would just be so I don't know, a word would come from somewhere and a pattern would emerge, and then so I would find a sentence, and then I would build the song around that sentence, but it would realistically make a story in the end that made sense to me, and then because I have, parents and children and partners, and I would try to hide the meaning of the story as well. So, I would give a truth but then try to hide it. So,
Fair enough. And on maybe from your perspective, Joel, you touched on this just a minute ago, but do people come with you, like when they book you as a producer, I suppose, do they come to you with fully formed song ideas, or do you sort of discover it with them when you're producing a song, or is it like a full-on, like you said before, like a collaboration from start to end on the actual song itself?
It's really all of those things.
Right.
Like I've found the industry shifted quite a bit since I moved from Perth 5 years ago. When I first moved here, I was just getting lots of work making records with artists, and a lot of times the songs were there, and then you'd maybe do some pre-production and rearrange things and kind of go, I reckon we should try to write a better chorus. So there's a bit of writing there, I guess. But now it seems like the collaborative songwriting process is so, prevalent here. And that probably, if you look at Spotify and the biggest songs on the American charts or whatever, that's kind of the way the industry's kind of tended. Some songs, pop songs, have 8 songwriters on them. I'm not quite sure how that would actually work, but I think now it's become more you walk into the room to write a song from scratch. There's so many solo artists now, and they are looking for people to collaborate with and bounce ideas off. I'm not sure. There seems to be less bands now. That's in my experience anyway. Maybe that's just how my thing's gone, but that's what I've found. So sometimes, if you've got a great song there already, I find, that's a great kind of not easy day at work. But if the song's great and it's there, it's like, as a producer, I feel like 95% of the work's done. It's just about capturing it, being, giving it a vibe that's true to the essence of the song, and getting great performances out of the artist and those kind of things. But starting from scratch, writing a song with probably, or quite often someone you've never met, it's such a nerve-wracking experience. You walk into the room nervous every day because you could come out with something that's, a hit or a good song, or you could walk out with an absolute pile of shit. And you never know. Like, some days it's a pile of shit and some days it's a good song. And that's walking in not knowing. You know, if you're producing, if you've got a good song, you know it's going to be, unless you completely screw it up, it's going to be pretty good. I love that nervous feeling, like walking in every day and feeling, I don't know how this is going to go, because when you do something good together, it's the most amazing feeling, and you make a new friend. That you're sharing stuff with each other that there's close friends that you haven't shared these things with, like with someone that you've just met. It's like jumping in the deep end with someone emotionally, and it's pretty. That's a great job to me. It's every day you're learning and making friends. It's cool, really cool.
And it is a bit like undressing in front of somebody, collaborating with somebody. It's very much about laying your soul bare and letting somebody see the embarrassing things that you might write. And then, you can, being able to laugh at each other and with each other and about yourself is good, but also like with the pile of shit, but you've just got to keep throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks.
Yeah. And there's no hiding when you're co-writing with someone sort of face to face either. They're there for the shitty bits, unfortunately. So, do you ever on those songs that may not work? Do you ever write a song and you go, no, that song's a turd, and then 5 to 10 years later revisit it and go, what was I thinking? That song's actually pretty good. It just needs one little tweak and it would actually be a good song. Do you find that happens, or not so much?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
I've written them and they've been put out, and then people go, that's my favourite song that you've ever written. I'm like, I hate it with all my heart, but it's on a playlist, so somebody seems to keep on I don't think that it's that they like it. It's just that if it's put in your face enough, then you know about it.
Absolutely. If the algorithm sends you a song enough, you're like, I know this song.
I've kind of learned to trust my 3-year-old daughter's opinion more than my own.
Honest.
Like, if she's got no filter and she's not influenced by if it's cool or not or whatever. She's just like, if she thinks it's sick, then I'll go, oh, it must be pretty good. And if she's like, turn off this song, which sometimes happens as well, I'll listen to that.
Fair enough. co-writing and deciding splits is a really big topic for APRA. We get a lot of people who put in their splits in the APRA system, and it's often, unfortunately, not to stereotype male rock bands. They get together after high school and they're like, we're gonna be bros forever, and we're gonna split our song 4 ways, and every song we ever write is gonna be 4 ways. And then they'll fight over something silly, and they won't ever want to speak to each other again. And the actual songwriter will go, well, that was my song, and it'll become a big drama. And once you've registered a song with us, you can't actually remove the splits without everyone's signed written permission. So how do you go about deciding splits? And before you register them with us, for example, what do you find are the best ways to negotiate splits? There's no right or wrong. I just want to know how you go about it.
It depends. There's the one way of going, well, who actually wrote what should get the true thing. But then if you are in a band, there is a very good reason for not doing that.
Yeah.
You don't, it depends on the way the band is as well. If the band is like the Beatles where, there's multiple songwriters and they're bringing them, maybe it should go to the people or whatever. But if it's like one songwriter, but then everyone else is really valid and important, you kind of, it really depends on how much you need the rest of the band, how much everyone's really important, how much time and effort people are putting in. With the Jezebels, for example, our drummer is a really important part of the sound and will often come up with things that are rhythms that are the start of a melody and things but in the classic traditional sense, I'm probably more the songwriter, but we all just always went equally because everyone was kind of in the room coming up with things and we were all putting in as much time, and it's just it's a band where everyone is kind of irreplaceable and equally important, so you need to kind of acknowledge that in the splits. Whereas if you just paying lip service to someone who's kind of a bit not really pulling their weight, you will resent that later. So don't ever give credit where it's not earned or due in some way.
Or maybe have that discussion first. If you're in the room together and you're writing the song, then agree in the room. This is what this is going to be, and then at least you've all agreed at one point in time, rather than just being I'm going to give this person something.
Here's one thing I will say, and sorry to ramble, but I found the whole idea of splits really hard when I was younger, and it is a really confronting part of being a songwriter, and especially when you get into collaborations where you go into the room and they're like, by the way, everyone's getting equal, and you're like, what if I came up with all the parts? And you kind of I do think that you have to be assertive. Personally, when I do my solo stuff, I don't go in saying let's all assume it's going to be equal, because a lot of the time someone won't write anything and I'm not going to give them 50% of my song. So I go, okay, we will sort it out after. I understand in song hubs and things like that where it's a songwriting conference, you just have to allow that's the policy. But in my own stuff, I think you just have to get better at talking to people and going, I think this is fair, 30% or whatever, because you contributed or whatever. But it is really hard, but you practice. And you also can't be too precious. Don't think that this song is your only song. You've got heaps of songs and heaps of ideas, and if you kind of just let them flow and be a bit generous where you can, it can actually kind of please the muses.
Anyway. Kylie, were you going to go? You go.
Yeah, I was going to say our band made the same decision to go equal splits from the start. And we looked at a band that had lasted 40 years, like you two, and we valued staying together over making money a problem. Even though the split of the actual songwriting isn't even, the chemistry of the personalities is such when you find a great chemistry of personalities, it's in the long run, I think it's a false economy to split things up unevenly and break up because of some money issue, because someone bought a new TV and another person can't afford a television, But with collaborative songwriting, I think what Hayley was saying then is totally true, that this isn't the last song you'll write. Some days you'll feel like in a collaboration you wrote 80% of a song and you only get 33% of it. Then the next day you might write, you might be in the room with someone who's absolutely on fire and you just stand back and let it happen, but you get 33%. You know, like it's...
Yeah, you don't want to push yourself on the song unnecessarily just to get your percentage.
Yeah, and after... Yeah, exactly. And after, you know, maybe 150 songs, it kind of just works out probably, you know. So think of it in a big picture sense rather than a daily kind of thing maybe. And if you add to a song that already existed, I always defer to the artist. Like if an artist comes in with a song and you're like, maybe we can write a new chorus or level it up or whatever, and you could contribute some writing, I always say to them, what do you think it is? You know, and generally 99.9% of the time they'd say, I think it's this, and you're like, yeah, that's absolutely cool, you know?
Yep, for sure. Kylie, I was going to touch on the song "This Girl" that you were a part of. So Kylie was on a song that was just like a smash hit, basically, which, you know, that's another level of complexity, maybe. How did you go? How did you find the top lining process worked for you as a featured artist? And like, can you go into a little bit about how the band agreement might have worked in that situation?
So this is I'm not a writer on that song, so I'm just I was a singer.
Yeah.
So basically, I think there's a course now at certain universities about me, about don't be that guy.
Oh no! Sorry to bring it up.
It has but it's great because actually there's probably new laws around it as well.
Yeah.
Because even though I'm not a writer on it, but at the time I needed the money to pay my rent, and there was a lot of songs. So there's probably about 600 years worth of songs that I've sung for other people that they can now they can now have remixed and have a billion streams on, because it's had over 1 billion streams now. So for that purpose, you can't escape my voice in the world, which is which is great in other ways, but also because of this lovely lady called Susan Cotchin who understands neighbouring rights. Every time that song's played in the world, I get some money. So it's not like I just get no money.
Yeah,
and
that's what I meant to specify, that it's the recording right rather than the compositional right, which is what APRA deals with, the composition. Whereas if your voice is recorded on something, there's also a recorded right that you might be entitled to.
PPCA.
PPCA,
yeah,
correct.
PPCA and PPL, but it's not just voices. It's whatever you can hear on the record.
Correct.
So like a friend of mine, he played bass on this amazing track, and that went number one in America, and then he thought that he'd just been given his normal session fee, but then eventually they said, oh no, here's a lot more money because you can hear the bass every time this plays, you get more money. So this was like a new kind of thing. So we all sort of went, and even if so for a lot of bands that I've been in, so the drummer or the sax player or the bass player will never make any more money past their session fee, and they sometimes a lot of the time don't get writing fees as well. So that's been great for them. So they get that money. Which is also quite hard to gather, because England and Australia have a broken down relationship with I think it's PPL, and they keep the money. And there's this interesting thing. I really like the word. So if you don't collect your money for 7 years, then it's reabsorbed by the record company. So that's like, it's not only is it very hard for us to make a living as musicians and songwriters, but it's also like, if there's any little bit of money going like floating around for you, then you probably won't be able to find it because they've made it really hard for you. So we have nice people at APRA who understand things and help us, and we, so you should always I always when I mentor with young kids a lot, and I always say to them just ring APRA. They're really cool. They'll talk to you. They'll explain things to you, and you guys are good like that. But yeah, but realistically with the songwriting things, of course, I know I've been in one band which is fantastic, and we did the same thing. We all said, yeah, everyone in the room gets it because we're part of a band and we're all family and we love each other, and we still all love each other even though we're not in a band anymore. But I met so many boys who always men who taught me the business of writing, which is half music, half lyrics. Mm-hmm. So now, but with my band, I kind of have people that do. I understand they do put in, and so I always give them some of my percentage from that. So to make sure that everybody's got skin in the game and understand that they're loved and appreciated for what they put in. So I guess and because I've been in it for so long, you see the relationships change from people who haven't done that, or the fights over money. It's horrible. I don't like that part of it, because we're not into advertising. We're not advertising agencies. I've done talk over stuff. Sorry to talk on so much, but when you do voiceovers, and I did this ad, and there's 8 people in the advertising agency people come into the studio, and I'm basically saying a sentence, and they're going, no, she should go up on the and, down on the. And they were like, yeah. I was like, you're all just trying to pretend that you've got a job. Like, you're just showing us why you should have this job. It's like, it's soulless, and that's not what we do, So we shouldn't be thinking about like, the percentage and all of this and all that. But I know that after 30 years and seeing when people didn't get their percentages or gave too much, it's not a happy time.
That's why, that for that reason, Linda Basides, who, I'm signed to Mushroom, and she's lectured me many times about always talk about the percentages at the end of the session. And usually it's assumed that it's going to be Nashville splits, which is, even for everyone in the room. But if it's a different scenario, talk about it on the day so it's not retrospective. People's memories around things alter over time and all that. But I still don't do it, and that's probably why Linda still lectures me on it, because I find it so awkward at the end of creating some music with someone, and it's a great experience, and it feels so awesome to go, okay, now let's do the financials.
I had my first session was with someone who was a great songwriter, but he was way more experienced than I am, and I kind of almost felt like I was cheating on my band by doing this session. So I already felt really weird and uncomfortable. And then he was like, right, so we'll go 50-50 on everything. And I was like, what? And it was actually my song that I'd shown him, and he just kind of demoed it a bit. And I was like, what? I freaked out, and I never went back. And I didn't do another session for like 10 years because that kind of business thing. So I think you got to read the room when you do that.
Totally.
Now I'm good at that.
Not everybody's like that either.
No, but
Like,
it's like if you bring it up to the wrong person in the wrong way, they may just run away for 10 years.
Yeah, it's like a prenup, isn't
But
it's unfortunate. Yeah.
Speaking from the perspective as a solo artist, opposed to you guys who are in bands, like you do have to like have your wits about you, and have your balls, have your balls out, and you know what I mean, like.
Talk business.
Well, not
No.
literally. Don't actually get them
in
out.
fact, that'll be bad.
But no, you've got to
That'd be more uncomfortable than the
Yeah, I mean,
splits.
you'll get what you want if you do that, because people will be freaked right out.
Scare them off a little bit.
But I mean, most people that you work with, like Joel's the opposite of that. You'll work with somebody like Joel or somebody like Cav or some of these other guys that you write with, and generally it's like, no, that's enough. That's you take that. Like even I wrote a song called "You Can't See Black in the Dark" that Joel and I produced and wrote together, how that song came about, a mate of mine, Rusty, who sings in a band called Electric Mary, he's quite a funny dude if you know him, and he rang me up this one day and he goes, the problem with racists, this is how he starts the conversation, because I'm like his one Aboriginal friend, so like he'll ring me and go, I met an Aboriginal on the train, his name's Neville, do you know him? But so he rings me up this one, he goes, the problem with racists is you can't see black in the dark. And I'm like, are you drunk? And when he explained it to me, it was really deep. He's like, if you don't get educated, if you're not prepared to listen to people's stories, your mind will never grow, And it's always really good. I rang him back, I go, that's really deep. He goes, yeah, I know. I said, I'm going to write a song called You Can't See Black in the Dark. And he's like, give me money. So when I registered with you guys, when I registered with APRA, and Joel had helped me rewrite it and make it cooler and stuff, so, we figured out our splits. But then I rang Rusty, I said, look, I'm actually going to give you 10% of the song, because without that conversation, it never would have happened, and it's been this incredible song that's changed my life. And he just laughed. He goes, you dickhead, I would have taken 5. So, most people are a bit like Rusty, I find.
And is Rusty an APRA member? Is he even receiving his 5%?
Electric Mary.
Oh, okay, right,
He's an amazing songwriter,
Fair enough.
Yes.
That's
Rusty's
good.
getting his 10.
That's good. I'm glad. Because some people do that, they might have a friend who's not really like a musician and they've helped them write a song, and then their friend never becomes a member of APRA, and you're like, you've given the money away and now it's sitting in a hold account.
Can I ask you a question as an APRA person? So I've got a new song that my wife wrote like the best line in the song, and she's legitimately, Joel, wanting, she's like, I need to register.
Fair
with
enough.
APRA. I need my fucking.
So
she's
she
like,
should.
I need my damn points.
Fair enough. Yeah, so she should. If she hasn't already, she should become an APRA member.
This isn't being videoed, is it?
Otherwise, it's there is a camera, but I don't think it's being streamed. So
My friend wrote a song with me on my first. He wrote a song on him and another guy wrote a song on my first album, and now he's got he said he's just gotten up to £100 of money, that he's made. He's like, he's a brickie, but he's like, I've made £100, 100 UK pounds, like in music. So he's not going to cash it.
that is cool. Yeah,
It's a tax write-off.
nice. But yeah, she totally should at some point become an APRA member and claim. If she's keen to claim, she should do that.
It's getting reabsorbed as we speak.
You do have to be careful. It is about 7 years because there is like some legislation where sometimes you have to send the money to the government and then you've got to claim it from them. So just try to register your songs as you write them. It'd be really good. Sorry, I'm just looking at my questions. Do you find that your songs transform from the time of writing once you've performed them live? For those of you who regularly perform live, like, do you find that you will test your songs in front of a live audience to see which bits sort of are good and which bits maybe aren't working so well? Not really?
Used to. When it was like early days with band and we would be playing and writing and then we might have a show before we had recording scheduled. But I think then it got into the cycle, the ever-hungry algorithm of the industry that needs more music before you have it.
Right.
And so then it became nothing ever gets performed before it's
fair enough. Yeah.
recorded.
I find doing that also can, in some ways, potentially limit the song.
Yep.
As in, you're paying a producer who's really gifted, who has better ideas than you have.
Yep.
That's why you're paying that person.
Yep.
And if you go out on the road and you play your songs as you wrote them, it's like, I wrote it, all right, here it is, all right, that's how it'll stay. And yeah, it probably morphs a little bit as you play it live each night. But whereas, I find I love to write in the most basic of form, like as basic as it can get. And then you turn up to a producer, like a Joel or whoever, and go, right, here's this blank canvas. And I know, is it fair to say as a producer you'd much sooner get the most simple version of a song rather than something that's...
Yeah, I think even if you're listening to a fully demoed thing, you as a producer, personally, I just try to hear the vocal and the chord progression and the lyric.
The skeleton.
Yeah, I kind of ignore the production unless it's amazing. Just copy it. But like I'm trying to listen to just the basic song. Like so, I love it if someone like Scott comes to me with a song that's just stripped right back, the Kumbaya version or the Campfire version, like Oscar was saying before. It's great. It can go either which way. You can dress it up in whatever outfit you like.
Yep.
Because then if you're out there playing it a certain way every night, you sort of get a bit of demo-itis as well. And then you get into a producer's room and he's like, nah, mate, let's make it like this. And you're like, well, actually, I'm not feeling that. And it's not because it's not better. It's just because you've played it that way 400 times and you're like, oh.
Yep. Yeah, yes, that's what you're used to hearing at that point.
I added an extra verse to a song that I sent away, and it was a top-line song that Aldo Venucci, I wrote with him a song, and he asked me, he was so kind, he waited for a whole year for me to get my actual shit together. And then when I did it, it took 15 minutes. It was like, what was I waiting for? Oh, it's so embarrassing. Anyway, so I did it, and then we went out and we started putting it into the set, and then it was like a bit too short, so I just like added another verse, but I never got to record that. And now every time I do it, I'm like, what's that third verse? I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't think I even wrote it down anywhere, but I had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not in the muscle memory there.
No, but it's like it fits.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
No, you go.
Oh, I was just about to say, with Eskies, we're such studio nerds. We'd record records and do like, a million tracks on this record, and then go, I will work out how to play that live later, which usually meant hiring more session musicians. So,
Yeah.
Also,
Bit of
the
stress.
answer to this question probably depends on the genre of music you're doing as well. Like if you're a singer-songwriter, I think it can be good to go out and test those songs, acoustic, campfire. If you're an electronic laptop producer,
Yeah.
probably not.
It's already going to be pretty set in stone.
Depends. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. How do you know when to stop tinkering or editing a song, like when you're in the recording section? Because I know a
When
lot
the
of
release
musicians out
deadline.
there, musicians out there who might not have a release deadline as well,
Need
who need one, yes, who will just like keep tinkering and like years and years will go by and then they won't release it, and they'll stop being a musician. So can we talk a little bit about how you know when a song is done or how you stop yourself?
That comment of it's not the last song you're ever going to write.
Yep.
It's really important to remember that. Like, yes, you can sit there going, oh, this is the song, this is the song, this is the song. I need to make it perfect, but then next minute you've written something better.
Yep.
So just get it out there.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it can be like you've just got to believe in yourself as well. It can be a self-sabotage to not put something out or not finish or say it's never finished because it really comes down to maybe there's doubt in your mind.
Totally.
But yeah, it's good to find. So I collaborate with another producer, Ed White, who is Vance Joy's producer and MD, and he's really good at going, it's done. You know, so maybe find someone, if you're having that problem, take it to someone else who's objective. You know, it's not their song, and they can go, no, that's done. That can be helpful.
Yeah, I keep coming back to what they were saying Oscar was saying in the speech of just like you have to care a lot and also not care at all. Like you can overcook things if you care and think too much for too long.
Yeah, there's a fine line. You've got to
And
walk.
people hear it and it can remove the soul from it a bit.
Yeah.
It's like a rock that you've mined and you polish it a bit, but if you keep going, it just kind of becomes a bit Proud's jewelry.
Like a piece of like actual,
It's great.
like I don't know if anyone's ever actually drawn a picture and you've gone, oh, that looks good. I'm just going to rub out this little bit and make it better, and then you're like, it's gone.
There was that woman who did the Jesus.
That's right. Yeah.
That's probably a different analogy. I might.
No, well, she was trying to help.
She was
trying to clean
but
the
she
monkey.
realised she called the cops on herself. She knew. She said, "I thought
Poor
it had gone
lady.
too far."
Yeah. She was way past too far.
Yeah. And she picked up the paintbrush.
Yeah. That's funny. Can we talk a little bit maybe about writer's block? Do you ever get writer's block, and do you have tips to overcome it?
All the time. I always have writer's block. I'm one of those like spoilt songwriters that like I see a lot of songwriters, and I know the ones that I admire are the ones that like actually started out thinking they were not very talented at all and developed a work ethic young. I'm thinking of my partner, Johnny Took from DMAs, who was told by his dad that he shouldn't sing, which is not something I would suggest saying to your children, but it made him want to be a really good songwriter, and he didn't think he was a very good songwriter, and so he just like wrote every day to try and get as good as the songwriters around him in his estimation. And he's just really prolific because he doesn't wait for the muses to give him a gift, whereas like a lot of songwriters will like the first experience you'll have will be, oh, this song just came to me, and everyone has them like, and often they are kind of your best songs. It's like it doesn't even feel like you wrote it, and that's great. If you want to just wait for like 2 of those in your life, you can do that, and that's all you'll get. But if you want to do it as like a songwriter, as a craft or a trade or an art even, you have to like keep writing shit songs over and over and over, like hundreds of shit songs.
Yeah, there's a mythology around that, the song that falls out of the sky, but what they don't talk about in that story is the 100 shit songs that came before, and the hard work. Someone like Nick Cave, who's, you know, one of the most amazing songwriters in, you know, ever.
Every day, doesn't he?
Yeah, just like puts on a suit, goes to his office, you know, and writes songs, and there's a discipline in that, and I think there's really something to that. Yeah. As far as pushing through the block.
Learning covers helps as well.
Yeah.
100%. Well, watching Get Back, that Beatles documentary, and that's one of the things that I sat there just frothing over was
that was inspiring.
every 5 minutes these boys are just busting out another cover, you know. And it's like, this is the greatest songwriters in the history of, you know, since songs were a thing.
Yeah. And the work ethic.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I know for me, like, because we made a record earlier this year together, and I knew that I had dates booked in to record, and so there's the whole deadline thing. So last year when we got into you remember the lockdown we had last year that went for 6 months, that was only going to be for 4 days?
Which one?
Yeah, touche. When they announced, I think the July one, when they announced it, New South Wales kept the border open for like 5 minutes. So I just got on a plane and just pissed off to Sydney. And I locked myself in a Holiday Inn for 3 weeks. And I'm like, I'm just going to sit in this hotel room and write. You know, it was basically quarantining kind of style. And in those 2 weeks, I think I wrote about 10 songs in two and a bit weeks. None of them, I don't think any of them made the record. But well, no, we've done the record.
But they might make another one in 5
years. Maybe that's true, because some of them are pretty fucking good.
It sort of gave you the space, like it opened.
Yeah, exactly.
Your
And
brain.
I don't know what it was about that 2 weeks, but it was almost like it unturned a tap, you know. And after that, more songs came and more songs came.
Right.
And my discipline was up, and I was writing more, and it was just this thing that making that decision to do it was really, really healthy for me, I think, as a songwriter.
Yeah, there's a book, not to spruik books, but there's a book by, I can't think of what the title is, but it's by someone named Pat Patterson, which talks about, it basically gives you exercises to write for the day, and you've got to do timed exercises every day. And one is a 60 seconds. You've got 60 seconds to write about a theme that's in the book. And you've got to hit writing better lyrics. Thank you very much. Writing better lyrics, it's called. And I think the exercises in that book are quite good for overcoming writer's block as well. And it goes back to that discipline thing. Like if you do these exercises every day, you do your 60-second song where you've got it's not a song, it's just like free writing basically. And you've got a theme, and it's like, I'm trying to think. The theme, it's got like, what does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? And you've got to hit all of these things in 60 seconds, and then it gives you another theme, and you've got to hit all of that stuff in 5 minutes, and then there's a 10-minute one, and you do that every day, and it unlocks that part of your brain where you're then able to just flow. It just flows at that point. And yeah, I think it really comes back to discipline, doesn't it?
I say the only time success comes before work.
There you go. That's a good one.
It is work, but it's also, when you were talking about your process before, when you were just thinking of random words to fit in, I was thinking it's also play. Like that's why you call it play. Playing rock and roll or whatever.
Also, I think reading books and listen. Like I listen to a lot of talking books, and I like to read, to turn my mind. But I think like literature, basically understanding how language works. I mean, because we're wordsmiths, I enjoy language. I enjoy the way that the English language is really hard and crazy, and just listening to other people's writing, not just musical writing, but like stories and literature. Just how it flows. And when you say a sentence, but then you try to sing it, it sounds stupid. So there's a way, so sometimes I sort of think to myself, okay, I want to say this, which could, I want to say that the curtain is beautiful and long and black, but then I write it in a big long sentence and I go, how do I get that into 3 syllables, like, it's a puzzle, it's a game as well. But yeah, basically my son understands me, he's a writer as well. But he's come over to my house sometimes. He'll be like, "Mom, where are you?" And he'll be like, "I'll be under the bed dusting," and he'll be like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I have to. This has to be clean, or I can't start writing. I've done the linen press, and I've done it." It's like, he's like, "Just get on with it." Yeah. So just to actually sit there with the pencil and paper, then something will always happen. But to actually get to that point where I get the pencil in my hand and I can see it over there, I can see the pencil, I can see the paper. I'm like, "Come on, Kylie, you can do it. You can get over there. Just get over there."
Yeah.
So
Is it
hard.
procrastination?
It's absolute procrastination because I don't know what I'm scared of, but I am, that it's all part of it.
Yeah. I read somewhere that, if you leave the tools out to do things like that, so like if you're like a painter, for example, if you pack away your paints at the end of every day and you intend to paint the next day, you probably won't. You're probably just going to sit and watch some TV or something.
I got 3 kids. I got 3 kids, and they're all
right. You can't leave things out.
No, opposite. So my daughter's 18, and she's like a really amazing songwriter. She's 1,000 times better than I am. She should be sitting up here, to be honest with you. My son's 13 and he's just started playing guitar. It's quite funny. I tried to teach him for yonks, right? I was like, "Mate, come on, let me teach you." He's like, "No, Dad." And then he rang me up while I was on the road and he goes, "Dad, I think I'd like to learn how to play Blackbird by the Beatles." I said, "Mate, I'd like to learn it," But I got home and he taught himself how to play it on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And it turns out he's actually really talented. So much to my wife's annoyance, there's now a guitar rack in the living room,
right,
with about 5 guitars on it because he just doesn't know which one he wants to play on the daily. But our living room is just like, I've got 2 kids who'll sit there and just pick it up because it's there. Electric guitars, so they're not loud, they're unplugged. But the living room is constantly just
twinging.
And if they're there, they'll pick them up and play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly.
Make it accessible for yourself to get better.
That's right. You've got to make it as easy for yourself as possible, particularly if you're prone to procrastination. I'm also prone to procrastination, so I know what that's like.
Oh, that's sorry. One thing that I did to help myself. Sorry, I know I was just telling you the problem. I didn't help you with any solutions, but what we've actually done now is that my friend was and we write together. So we both, and he has lots of jobs and a family, and I have a family. So we've actually gone in with some friends, and we have a couple of days in a studio now, so that we can actually go there. And so when you actually go away from the washing and the cleaning and the kids and the questions, then you have to sit in the room.
Go to the
and
Holiday Inn.
I'm just here now. I'm doing it. I have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holiday. It's Potts Point, but when I checked in, it turns out it's King's Cross. So it was. It was
Day
hard.
and night.
It was hard to stay focused.
Fair enough. Actually, Scott, several of your songs you would really consider protest songs. Yep. I find that lots of people, or I have found that lots of people sort of starting out on their songwriting journey will really try to apply meaning to their lyrics because they think that's what they need to do to get their first song out or their first couple of songs out. And the songs they won't be that great. I feel like writing protest songs is a particularly nuanced and like difficult thing to do. Do you have any like tips for people who, you know, they might have a really strong message or something that they want to get out? Do you have any tips for them to write a good protest song?
I think writing a good song, full stop, you've got to feel it. It's got to come from you.
Yep.
And it's funny because you say that. Like I had a record that came out in 2016 that there's 2 songs on it. Pretty much the record was shit, but there was 2 good songs on it. No, they were all right. But so one of it was a song called Solid Rock, which Shane Howard wrote in 1982. And I was really fortunate because I'd met him once and I rang him and I said, look, I've done a version of your song and I'd like you to sing it on my record with me. And no, you know, and he was like, yeah, no worries, I'll do that. Which I'll forever be grateful to him for because, you know, from that point on we released it. And I was unsigned at that point. I had an agent who wasn't very good. And Triple M flogged it. You know, and then they asked us to go in there and play it live on Eddie Maguire's breakfast show, and I was like, oh, all right, turn up and do that. And then we finished playing it, and I didn't really know what that involved, but then my wife turned around and she goes, who's that old homeless-looking fella over there? I said, shut up, that's Michael Gudinski. And MG happened to be there, and then I got a phone call that day signing my publisher. So all these things, amazing things happened from Shane being so generous with his song. But there was another song on that record called Sorry, which I sing in Aboriginal language. It talks about genocide, like it's a heavy lyric. And that song's been a favourite at gigs ever since I wrote it, and it's like just this song that means so much to me personally. So I never really sort of considered that. When you talk about you don't remember writing those songs, that was one of those ones for me. So I never really, you know, so I had these 2 songs, one I didn't write that I've played for forever, that are protest songs, if you like.
Yep.
And then, you know, so Triple M played those songs and ABC played both of those songs a lot on the radio, which was really good for me. Nothing happened after that for a couple of years, and I was sort of just milling around and I was hanging out with Jane Gazzo this one day, who, if you know Jane, she's an amazing broadcaster and an author and a journalist. And she looked at me, she goes, you know, Darlow, everybody at Mushroom loves you. I was like, excellent. She goes, everybody at Triple M loves you. I was like, excellent. She goes, but no one wants to hear you sing love songs. She goes, go write better songs. You need to write better songs. Yeah. Your songwriting's not good enough right now. And that was really fucking hard to hear, to be honest with you. But it was such a good point because that was really, for me, that was a point when I went, right, I need to learn. And I rang anybody and everybody I could to co-write, which made me a heaps better writer. And from that point, I started going, right, I can't be writing songs about things that I don't really feel. So for me, this country, I don't know if you know, but this country's a bit fucked in regard to First Nations people, relationships, statistics. Like, we are still dying 12 years younger than every other demographic. Right, you pick up the Herald Sun this morning and they've got this front page, it's this inflammatory headline about how we're going to make kids learn about Sorry Day, but it's the way they've scripted it is just so inflammatory. And I'm sitting here going, there is so much work for us to do because this country's fucked. Yeah. You know, so that comes out in my songwriting. That's like, you can probably see I'm sitting here just wanting to punch through walls right now, even just as I think about it. So I don't really think about like, I don't know, they just come out.
Yeah, they come out.
They just come out, you know. But that being said, when I wrote Black in the Dark, I went and played it to Joel. I was like, how good's this song, you know? And Joel's like, it's all right. You know, it needs to be better. You did.
I don't remember.
You did. You looked at me, you go, it's all right, but it needs to be better. And so we did. We sat and rewrote
I think I said it's amazing.
Let's
see what happens.
It must be somewhere in the middle. It's usually
it's actually really good.
I think your comment was,
I got to sing it with
this song's too important to not make it as good as it can be.
Yeah.
And you then did that. So, yeah. Rusty still got his 10.
Oh, that's so
but
sweet.
but
it's very sweet.
Yeah. I think they just, if you're passionate and they, you know, but again, what old mate was talking about this morning, Oscar, like, you know, it was interesting to hear him talk about lyrics. He was always about, you know, as I've gotten older, lyrics are more and more and more important, you know. And Joel is like he's a lyric Nazi, right? So writing with him is actually really, you are, dude. You are like horrible at times, you know, because you'll be like, no, now you know what he's done to me, right? Now when I write lyrics, I sit there going, the first thought I have when I write a line is, what would Joel think? Yeah. Because but I love that about him because lyrics are so important, and they're so important. They're telling the story that you want to get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think because we're good friends, we can be quite honest with each other. If I'm having a session with someone I've never met, I'm extremely gentle.
Yeah.
But, we're mates, so it's full disclosure.
I should have pointed that out. But yeah, I love that. And I think it's really important. Joel mentioned earlier, you've got to have people in your corner who you respect and trust, who have got the freedom to actually give you honest truths.
Yep.
You know, my old man, bless him, rest his soul, he used to say to me as a kid all the time, he goes, Scotty, pick 5 people that you really love, that you care about, that you trust and that you value. And anytime they have a commentary on your life in general, you take it to heart, really process it, take it on board. Anybody who's not in those 5, you know, Iris, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I live my life by that rule, you know. So you got to find somebody who's in your 5 who's like Joel, who knows what they're talking about and have got the freedom to shift you into the right space that you need to be into.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
For sure. So we've got about 10 minutes left. Has anyone got any questions at this point? Yes. For someone else to sing?
Publishers help.
Okay, sorry, go on.
No, you go.
I've been self-managed my whole career, which is probably a different route. Hearing Oscar talk about how management's the most important thing, I've kind of like gone the opposite of that. I've found there's no better substitute than for just knocking on doors and reaching out. And you'll be surprised at the goodness of people. Like, I mean, I told that story about Shane Howard. Like, to be honest with you, I met him at a festival, right? He'd sung at it. I was a fan. We'd met once. Now, truth be told, some dickhead from Shepparton rings you up and goes, "You're a legend. Can you please sing on my record?" He should have told me to piss off, but he didn't. You know, I reached out to the singer in Joel's band, Cav, on Instagram after the Jane Gazzo conversation. I said, "Look, you don't know who I am, but I need to write better songs. Would you please write with me?" And he did. You know, and we wrote a song together that got absolutely hammered on the radio, which was, thank God for me, it was amazing. People are good generally. And I think if they can see into you what you're doing and they go, "Yeah, she's cool," or whatever, just keep. And if they say no, just keep knocking. You know. So if you've got songs that you think are good and you've demoed them, reach out to people that you like, that you think would be a good fit, whether on social media or however, and just keep on having a crack.
Yeah, the only experience I've had like that is I wrote this song with this artist called Budjera, and it was, a piano ballad, and it was this song called The Little Prince, and it was based on this French novella, and we wrote this song in a caravan next to his house, kind of thing, in a 4-day block, and then about a year and a half later, the A&R guy, Budjera's A&R guy, said, "Oh, Panyao want to put the song out." So that was kind of like selling a song, but it was more like a negotiation with these full-on LA lawyers about how much percentage of the actual writing we'd get left with. So that was an entry into a world that I sort of hadn't been into, and it was like, wow, this is hardball kind of thing. But that was an experience, I guess, of, because they didn't change a lyric or a melody or anything. They kind of more remixed the song, but they still took quite a chunk of the publishing. So I mean, that's rather than pitching a song, I guess they heard our song and said, "Oh, we hear this as a dance tune," and put it out. But that was a sort of bit of a, in Australia we tend to be like, we act on good faith and it's good vibes and that kind of thing generally with song splits and those kind of business arrangements. But overseas it's business. And these lawyers, they have that's their job, is to, play hardball. So that was really interesting, but that's a version of selling a song, I guess. Yeah.
You're talking about like being a writer for others and not necessarily performing as an artist. Yeah, I think I don't know how you would shop yourself to publishers, but that is the world you're talking about. Do you have a publisher? Yeah, finding publishers, and I'm not sure where you Google publishers, but Mushroom's one, Native Tongue's another. I'm sure APRA could advise you, but they represent songwriters that aren't visible artists. In fact, there's heaps of visible artists that suck at songwriting and need songwriters. So there's a whole world out there, and I would start by maybe asking APRA who publishers that you could approach are, and getting demos together.
What I was about to say, demos are really important. If you don't have a demo, someone's pretty unlikely to just look at a sheet of paper and use it.
It has to be recorded.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be recorded well, because these people are trained to hear songs. So don't be too much of a perfectionist. You don't have to be a great singer. You just have to be able to get it in tune and get the skeleton across. But yeah, publishing world is probably where you'd go.
Yes. Oh, you can register your song from the minute you write it, because you won't always. You might perform your song live before you might not ever release the song as a recording. So you can, and if you're performing live, you're eligible for live performance royalties. So as soon as you write a song, you can register it with us. And you should, because then you won't forget. Yes.
I mean, often you can just look up producers that you like, so Oscar over there or whatever, and hit them up in their DMs and say, hey, I write songs, check out some of my tunes. Do you want to write a tune? I think most producers are open to working with unsigned artists. If they hear it and go, this is great, I love this, I'd love to collaborate with this person, just because you're not signed to a publishing company doesn't mean that rules you out of that world. You know, a lot of people who hit me up on, say, Instagram are sort of like, I don't know if you're open to collaborating with unsigned, and it's always like, of course. Like, if I feel like I'd be excited to work with you and can hear something there that I'd like to collaborate with you on, then of course, yeah. I think so. I don't think you should be scared of doing that. You know. Hit me up.
Slide into his DMs.
Yeah.
I think something we haven't really touched on is like community in music, and particularly, you know, a lot of music is about the community that you've got around you and that you're operating in. So if you're out and you're looking to co-write and there's a band locally that, you know, maybe you've played on the same bill with them, or maybe you just like them, go talk to them and be like, hey, let's do a co-writing session together. Most people would be pretty up for it. Exactly.
Yeah, you can probably set up like 30 today.
Yeah, I mean, so much of this business really is about relationships. And I think people forget that at times, you know, whether it's touring, like you're saying, or, you know, for me, it's always about the who do you enjoy spending time with. I mean, even when you're in a band or if you go on tour, you know, like for me now, when I go on tour and do band runs, I'm not necessarily looking at who's the best guitar player. I'm looking at who can I sit in a fucking van with for 6 hours.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I never really thought about it because, you know, I've just been doing it since, I had kids, my first child at 25, and then people were sort of going, well, you should probably stop now. So I just... Yeah, kids. Well, then so I just took. Yeah, I just involved them with me, and my son's now a musician, which is a bit sad because I would have preferred him to be a dentist, but he's actually quite a good musician, so that's even more disappointing because I have
Is that because you'd get cheap dental work done?
Yeah, yeah, of course, and also because he'd have somewhere to live, but you know. But no, I mean, it's just that I just never stopped. I didn't like a lot of girls I knew had babies and they just had to stop because we weren't supported in any way. But I just, you know, had to find a village and I had to like take them with me. My friends that own the pub, they let me rehearse there and take my kids with me. But I don't know. I don't think that you need to think about it. It's not something that It's like people say, oh, do you encounter racism or do you encounter ageism? It's sort of like, I'm like, maybe I do, but I just really don't give it any air time. I just turn away from it. I'm like, oh, you're an idiot, so I don't have to talk to you anymore. So I'm not going to sit in a van with you for 6 hours. I mean, and I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by a lot of people of all ages who do music, and music really is, like I've been to, say, Box Hill TAFE, and the kids there are so sweet because they're like, it's like in some worlds, old people are stupid and dumb and past the use, but in music, old people are better at music because they've done it for longer. And it's so like they've seen things and they know people, and old people know lots of famous people. And like my son would be like, how come
more life experience?
Yeah,
to write
like
things.
my son was going, how come you know so many people? And you know, I'm like, because I'm old. and I've been around, So I think it's just if you have a happy way of being and just and you enjoy music and you like people want to see other people enjoying themselves, don't they? That's what we vibe off. Really, I mean, I want to be told a story like with little kids. When I sang that song, This Girl, I was made to go to England a few times. And one time I went for the weekend, but like you're not made to go. Sorry, paid to go. Yeah, whatever. It was lovely, but I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm a homebody. I love being at home, and I'm lucky this day and age that I can just write a song on the computer and send it overseas. But I've been very lucky to go overseas and do all this sort of stuff. But these people, they want me to sing the song 3 times, like sing it like 3 times in a row. Like, and then you go up like in these nightclubs full of thousands and thousands of people, and you go to the next floor and sing it another 3 times. It's like, but what it reminded me of is little kids wanting a story again, just sing it again, or sing the nursery rhyme again, or play. So it's like that's just who we are. We're babies and we're humans and we play games, and it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters what. My nana was my favourite person in the world, and my aunties are my favourite people in the world. Like, I love older women because they have food, they have hugs, they have they're good at stuff. Like I don't think it really
triangle
matters.
Sandwiches. I think to be honest with you, I think it's regardless of irrespective of age. I think there's 2 things you got to remember. One, it's always about the songs. And sometimes we get confused and think it's about this or it's about that. That was that Jane Gazzo conversation that sticks with me is like, mate, you've got to write better songs. So I think if you've got good songs and you can somewhat deliver them even, just do it. Open mic nights.
Enjoy
whatever.
it.
Just any opportunity you can get to play, get in front of people. Because the truth of it is if you've got a good song and people hear it, it'll kick on. Because people love a good song.
Well, Sharon Jones, she was like 50 in her 50s when she started. It's like, and nobody cared. I mean, she was just starting out. I mean, there's been plenty of.
I mean, look at Darryl Braithwaite, right? Now, he had that song. Was it last year, 2 years ago? Love Song. And heritage acts find it hard to get added to radio for whatever reason and get spins.
Sorry, bullshit, because that's all that gets added is heritage.
New music. No, they get played. They're old songs. Right. Like how many fucking new songs has Diesel had added to radio in the last 20 years? It doesn't happen.
Just saying that heritage acts will have.
Well, I love Diesel, but no, I'm saying new music added to commercial radio. But that song Darryl did, Love Song. So it was written. Somebody wrote it for Pink, and Darryl's manager got it and said, "No, Pink is not having it. Darryl's having it." Darryl records it. And that song has been fucking smashed on the radio. It's been streamed to the bloody... Yeah, it's a great song. But, here's this guy who's like... I mean, Darryl's super old. No offence, Darryl. He's a legend. No, he's a legend, right? I love him. And he's an amazing life. But that song has been absolutely flogged because it's a great song.
Yeah.
He's talking about starting out now.
No, I know. But
he's also become an
but the principle I'm saying is that if it's a great song, it's a great song.
You're in the best time for breaking boundaries as well. Like, yes, there is still all of the isms in the music industry like the rest of the world, ageism being one of them, but we're probably in the least ageist time that we've ever been in. So
hopefully that'll keep getting better.
Like Sia is like one of the biggest pop stars in the world, and she became one of the biggest pop stars after her 30s, which is not what we're talking about, but it's like that wasn't heard of in the 80s as much, for example.
Also,
great songs.
Yeah, exactly. And also outside of the career aspect and achieving radio play and all of that sort of stuff, most songwriters do it because it's a compulsion. Like you wake up in the morning and you have to do it, and it's like therapy, and it makes you feel good. And if you don't do it often, you don't feel good. So, I think that's the most pure reason to do it.
Yeah. I'm sorry, everyone, but that's all the time we have. But if you stick around to the end of the day, there's some networking and we can answer some more questions for you because I can see that there's still more questions. But thank you to all of our lovely panellists for being here today. Please give them a round.
Thank you, everyone.
So we're going to have a break now for lunch, and then it's straight into the first workshop sessions at 1:30. You must attend the workshop that is on your lanyard, so please make sure you are across that. Go and enjoy some lunch. See you later.